Welcome, everyone. We're glad to see you here. This is our Q&A webinar for the 2411 upgrades. She's going to stay put. I'm impressed, David. Keep it up. Um, we are starting things off. My name is Katrina Burka. I'm one of the educators here at Bywater. Most of us on this webinar are educators at Bywater in one role or another, traveling, webinars, documentation, and our local cataloging expert, Esther, as well. Joining us, though, we also have our support team. So Laura O'Neill and Heather, who has been an educator and is kind of on the balance beam right now on her way over to the support team is joining us so that we can have the support perspective on this webinar as well. So we have a little bit of a tradition, not just with the pets, but also with the bad jokes. And so I am going to kick us off in the bad joke arena in honor of March Madness. Why are basketball players messy eaters? Because they're always dribbling. Boom, boom. All right. So we know that many of you have seen the Monday Minutes that Nick and Jesse have been doing that have introduced a lot of the features that you're going to see in the that you are seeing already on your site in 2411. So you can see those as well as our recording that the education team did when we did our What's New webinar. The beginning of February. Had to think about that for a second. So we've got that recording. Everything is available in the Upgrades Hub. We're going to post a link to the Upgrades Hub in the chat. There you go. Thank you, Michael. So if you want to watch that recording, watch the recording of this later, will be posted there as well. So some of you, especially those of you who were early adopters, did a great job of finding a lot of bugs in this release. And so I want to pass it off to Heather and Laura, who have been on the front lines in our support team of triaging those tickets as they came in, and sort of give us an update about where we stand with some of those bugs that were identified in this release.
All right, so I will go ahead and get started. There were quite a few bugs, as usual, happens with an upgrade like this, but that have come in. But we have really good news that a lot of these have been fixed. I wanted to announce some of the I mean, there's several on my list, but I want to just kind of point out a few that you may have noticed that are now have a bug fix either backported or coming up, mostly just coming up in the next point upgrade, which are happening this week. So to 2411.02. So the first one I want to mention is that we've got bug 38919. Check-in does not notify of waiting holds. That is a difficult one, but it is now patched, it is backported, and the fix is coming. So if I need to go into more detail, somebody let me know, but I'm just going to go through these quickly because we have a lot of content to cover today. So the next one that is an exciting bug fix that's coming is bug 38588. Check-in that triggers a transfer, and when you click on print slip, there's an internal service error or server error. So that has been fixed as well. We've also got a couple of other good ones in here. Bug 38853, cancel selected on the holds table does not work. It is going to work. It's going to work now. The fix is coming. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, yeah, bug 39108. Clicking the ignore button on the hold found modal for already waiting holds does not dismiss the modal. So now when you click that ignore button, that modal will properly dismiss like it usually does. Another one that I wanted to mention is for the transfer slips. So bug 387 3948. The library name is missing in the return to home transfer slip. So that's going to be fixed. We've also got bug 38789. The wrong transfer modal does not show.
So Heather, I
So
just want to jump in because those last two
please.
bugs that you mentioned, 38748 and 38789, those were ones that came up or that surfaced early during our upgrade week. And so the partners that were upgraded on Monday and Tuesday night are the ones that felt that those ones, and the developers were able to build a patch and push it out to the partners that went from Wednesday and beyond. So I want to highlight those two because they were really nasty bugs that the developers fixed very quickly, and they were able to build a new package so that the remaining partners didn't experience those. And then, as you can see on the spreadsheet, I noted that we were able to push the patch to people who needed it, who had upgraded on Monday and Tuesday night, so that they did not have to wait for the next point update for that one.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much, Laura. That's great news. Kudos to the developers for getting that in there so quick, because those are, I mean, if you've ever worked a circulation disk, those are kind of blockers. It's not helpful.
So the ones in the spreadsheet that are green in the green section where I've checked the box that says patched means that those patches are in the current package that's being rolled out to you this week. If you haven't gotten it already, it will be there within days. And the ones in the orange at the top, there's like 10 or so bugs. Those are the ones that we're still working on that you might still be seeing, but they are on our radar and we're working on getting them fixed. Not we, the developers.
Awesome. Very cool. Okay, so I only have one other one that I'm going to mention, but Laura, if there's something that I missed and you would want to point out, please do. The bug 39172, merging records no longer compares side by side. That was such a nice feature, and for that to be impacted by a bug, I'm so glad to hear that catalogers will have that feature once again, because it is really a fantastic thing. Anything I missed, Laura, or anybody else on this panel that wants to point out some other bugs? Otherwise, we can kind of just move right along.
39282 was a really nasty one that affected a lot of people as well. And so that's another one that's in the current package that's being pushed out this week. So if it's not fixed for you yet, it will be very soon, where it creates invalid or items with invalid data, and then you get a 500 error when you try to open the items. Extremely frustrating.
Indeed. Awesome. But yeah, that is just a sampling of all the bug fixes that have already been put in place. We had many more on the list. Please take a look at that spreadsheet that Laura posted in that was posted in the chat. It's a great way to follow along. So thank you all very much for your patience while we work through these.
Yeah, thanks, Heather. Thanks, Laura. We appreciate you. We do have some time lined up for us to go through highlight reel, if you will, of some of our favorite features in this release. But we call it a Q&A webinar because we really want to hold this space for your questions. So if you do have a question, you can either use the Q&A feature, or you can pop those questions in the chat. I haven't seen the chat be so overwhelmed by 35 people that we can't respond to your questions in chat. But if you want to make sure we don't miss it, you can also pop it in the Q&A feature. So if I don't see anything so far, but if you do have things that you're really excited about and you want to make sure everybody else knows about it as well, or you have questions, please pop those in the Q&A or the chat and we will address those as we go on. Otherwise, I'm going to pass it off to Esther, our resident cataloging expert. Oh, you have questions, Kimberly. Do you want to unmute for your questions? Oh, okay. I'm going to read. And first, I'm going to pass off to Esther while I read, and we'll come back to your question. All right, Esther, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the things that we saw that improved for cataloging and acquisitions and the staff interface. And I'm just going to run through them, but if somebody wants to see what these things are on the screen. I have a few examples. I'm not going to do a deep dive in any of it, but if you do want to see something, let us know. The first is that we can amend mark modification. Let me get my words. Mark modification templates, because this is so exciting on this one. You can use it now to copy control fields. So an example that I've seen some libraries do is copy the 001 to the 035. And because being able to search and keep track of those control numbers so you can find the records later is really nice. And so that's a really nice functionality now that's available in mark modification templates. And then the big one in acquisitions, which I hope everybody has seen, is the new search form on the homepage of acquisitions. Makes it really nice to be able to get in there and search for something right off. It's just a really great enhancement. When I first saw it, I just was so excited to see that. Okay, so those are the two in cataloging and acquisitions. In the staff interface, I hope you saw in the holds queue that you now have the shelving location in a separate column, which is great because when you're having to process the holds queue and go find that book on the shelf, having it in a separate column, I mean, that's just a huge quality of life improvement. Let's see, next. Oh, item search. So the option to create a shareable link in item search. I don't know if anybody has done that yet, but it is amazing to be able to do a search, save that link, share it with staff members, or even bookmark it for yourself so you don't have to recreate that search again. Love it. Okay. Being able to save your table configurations. So if you customize the checkout table, you can now save that per user, which is great. And there's a few other tables that you can do that now. Just one caveat, it is not available for the holdings table in the bibliographic records. Hopefully that will come in the future, but now that we have the functionality and other tables. So stay tuned for that, but just being able to do it for other tables is great. And then the last one that I was going to talk about is cancellation requests. So being able to add information about holds with cancellation requests to the staff start page. So you get a little alert in the staff homepage that says there's been some cancellations for holds. It's nice to know that you need to have that information front and center so you can go and deal with those cancellations right away. So perfect. So we've got all of those posted in the chat. If you want to look at those, if you have any questions, we can do that. But I think we had that one question that came in, Katrina.
Yes, I've had a chance to read Kimberly's question about the item groups. And essentially, so Kimberly recently migrated. So when those item groups were created, I'm assuming they were created at migration. So they're all set with the same 0 priority. And so they're not ordering properly as you might expect. And so she's asking about the ability to sort the item groups numerically by the item name. I don't see a bug for that, but there is one in the community that's a little similar in terms of when I add an item group, add the ability to incrementally change the order of those after you add an item group. Okay, I see you set them to 0. So the order of those is set by what you have in that ordering. I don't see a bug in the community, but since item groups are a relatively new feature in Koha within the last couple of years, you could file your own bug, or if you want to submit a ticket to Bywater, you could submit a ticket to Bywater with that issue, and someone on our team would be happy to file that bug for you. I thought I saw someone chime in that they had a follow-up question on Was there a follow-up question on Kimberly's question? Marta also asked, curious how libraries use bookings and what's the difference between holds and bookings? Um, Anybody on our team want to chime in, or is there
I
anyone?
can answer that.
Okay, great. Thanks, Esther.
So holds and bookings are very similar in that you can request materials. The biggest difference with a booking is that you can schedule that request for a specific time. So when you place a booking, you're given an option to set a calendar date of when you need to have that booking by. A hold just generally hangs out until the book is returned by the previous patron and then goes to that next person. There's not a time factor there necessarily. And so bookings are really useful for book clubs when you need to know you have a specific book that everybody needs, or perhaps a college where a professor needs to have certain materials for a project by a certain time. So there's probably lots of other different scenarios that other people may think of that they could maybe add to the chat of how they use bookings, but those are a few that we've seen. I hope that answers your question.
I would say the other thing I've seen bookings used for is like room reservations or um, things that are only available to one patron at a time, sort of thing. Not like I have multiple items on a bib record, sort of. Yep, Storytime kits. Heather's mentioning in the chat. Okay, great. Looks like we answered Marta's question. And Kimberly has, actually, I saw Eric had a question about recalls. Is there anyone on here who's using recalls? And if so, how are you working around the many open bugs? So I saw Heba raise her hand, so I'm going to let her answer that
Yeah.
one.
I will say we do not have very many of our partners using recalls. That development came out of, I believe, PTFS Europe or Catalyst. It came from a non-US based development company. So we do not have a lot of partners using it. When I have had it come up in implementations, we tend to find that the libraries that are curious about it will either adjust their circulation rules to have like shorter checkouts so that renewals will, or so that holds will act as a blocker to the renewal. And then I had an academic library that was interested in recalls, but they used Aspen, which is not developed in Aspen at all. So the answer is we have not encountered any of our library partners using that feature yet. And Eric, I think I may have filed some of those bugs you found based on some of your initial poking at it. So haven't really heard anything since then.
Thanks, Heba. Appreciate that. So Kimberly's second question, on the 2411 upgrade webinar, you said with bug 28633, add preferred name field, that the OPAC would show the preferred name, but that's not working for Aspen. Is there another setting we need to change on Aspen, or is this only available for the Koha OPAC? I am going to poke around. Sarah unmuted, and oh, and Andrew raised his hand. Andrew's here. I'm gonna promote Andrew to panelist. Andrew is on our development team, a former educator here at Bywater. So we're gonna let Andrew chime in and answer some questions live instead of in the chat.
That was terrifying. It kicked me out of the meeting for a second in order to bring me back in as a panelist.
Oh, it's okay here.
Yes, preferred name does not show in Aspen yet. We're already in the process of working on code to make preferred name visible in Aspen, so it'll just show for you. And then there will be a further development step to make that something that patrons can update for themselves via Aspen. But that just first step of making Aspen show the preferred name rather than the first name is already underway.
Is that an issue in Jira that we could share?
I've posted
Probably.
it
Oh, thank you, Esther.
in chat. Yep.
Oh, perfect.
Okay.
She posted it before I could ask the question. Great. Thanks, Esther. Um, all right. It doesn't look like there are any other questions. So while you populate the chat with your questions, which are awesome, we love answering questions rather than us just droning on and on about what we're excited about, which we are excited about a lot in this release. I'm going to pass it off to Sarah.
All right. Um, okay, so a couple of bugs about circulation and circulation, or related to circulation and circulation rules. These, we did discuss all of these in the initial webinar, so sorry, this is a repeat for anyone who was there. But the first one, we've got bug 14180, which is make always show checkouts immediately a global setting. So there is a new system preference called always load checkouts table. You can set that to do or do not instead of using the jQuery that many of our partners had in place. If you are going to use the system preference, or pardon me, the Internet User JS code, not jQuery. If you were using that code, we recommend hopping into that Internet User JS system preference and getting rid of that code. The partner system preference with always load checkouts table is load checkouts table delay. And what that will do is it'll delay the loading of the checkouts table by the number of seconds that you put in the system preference to allow the rest of the page to show first, and then that checkout table will populate. And you only need that one if you're finding that the entire page is taking a while to load. You can just delay the checkout table. So that's just makes it much more, it gives you that additional delay option and then clears out some of that Internet User JS code that was more of a workaround than anything. Our next one, we've got 14787, which is allow confirm continue option to circ warnings at checkout. This one's name is a little bit, I don't know, it's not the clearest name, so I'm just going to show this one. Now you'll get to see another Bywater pet, although not live. So Nina's already got one periodical checked out. The rules for this library are that you can only have one periodical checked out. So if I go to check out another one, I get my warning, one checked out, only one allowed, giving me the explanation. And I've got this new checkbox to remember for the session for this patron. So if I check that box before I say yes, check out, I'm no longer going to get these warnings when I am passing or crossing some limitation in Koha. So gonna check that out. And now if I grab another periodical, can see it just checks it out. I don't have the warning there. And you can see I had that, if anyone caught here, I had that loading table or the couple seconds where this checkout table was loading thanks to that delay setting. One thing I do want to point out about this one is that that checkbox to prevent the warning from popping up is going to apply to any other warnings that you hit during this checkout session with this patron, even if it's not for the same limit that that we initially hit. So check out another item, and this is a 2-hour reserve item, which the circulation rules are also for this one that you can only have one. But just to demonstrate, if I go and check out another of those, even though I was not, even though I was essentially overriding a circulation rule because I checked that box to bypass that message for the rest of this, my session checking out to Nina, I didn't get that warning again. So that's just something to keep in mind, that if you're crossing multiple or bypassing or overriding multiple rules, you're only going to get it for that first one. Um, and then the last one here is 28924, which is allow checkout fine limit to be determined by patron category. So what this one does, so we have our global settings here for no issues charge, no issues charge guarantees, and no issues charge guarantors with guarantees. And these are going to be your global default limits. But if you have a patron category who should have different limits for whatever reason, like maybe a non-resident category, or you have like children's categories, or whatever the situation is, where you want a specific limit that is different than your defaults, you now have the option to set that in your patron category. So got a number of other kind of similar options that you can set that already existed where you can set something different than the default, but our new ones here are checkout charge limit, checkout guarantees charge limit, and checkout or guarantors with guarantees checkout charge limit. So anything set here for a given patron category is going to apply instead of the defaults in that system preference. Otherwise, Koha is going to defer to the system preference. So this just gives you a lot more flexibility for specific situations depending on your library's needs. All right. Were there any questions about any of those? No. All right.
We did have a couple more questions from Kimberly, so I want to make sure that we don't miss our questions in chat.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm going to start with one at a time. So do bugs 36064 add information about holds with cancellation requests to staff start page, and 36453 block expired patron OPAC actions work with Aspen 2 or just the Koha OPAC? I am seeing in our internal team chat that the hold cancellation from Aspen does work with Koha. And I see a link to a JIRA issue. Oh, that's the second question. So the block expired patron OPAC actions, I believe, does work with passing whether or not a patron can access certain features within Aspen. But we would have to test that to confirm, but I'm fairly confident that those restrictions and blocked patron actions will carry through over into Aspen. The second question that she had was for bug 29194, patron messaging preferences should be logically ordered. This is not reflected in Aspen under messaging preferences, and it looks like there is a bug here for
I dug up that bug, and that is the bug
okay.
that says like Aspen doesn't pay attention to whether you are even using all of the notices. It just pulls them all into Aspen. So without that bug being addressed, I don't know that Aspen would be able to go that step further and reorder based on matching Koha.
Okay, great. And Mary is commenting for the don't ask me again, go ahead and override block feature. If staff go to another patron and then back to the original patron, will those blocks still be overridden for that patron, or will you need to click that override box again? Sarah, since you had Nina's account pulled up, can we navigate to another patron and test if we would have to override again on her account?
Absolutely. Let me just grab another item that will cause an override, and then
That's a great question, Mary.
yeah.
And we just, Sarah, could you share your screen so we can?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm just once I
Oh,
just
you're
grab.
grabbing the barcodes.
Yeah, no one
Yeah.
needs to watch me grab my test. Okay. All right. So now share my screen. Okay. So here's Nina. I'm gonna head over to Scampin here. No. How about Maggie? Yeah.
Maggie's there.
All right.
She's snoring in the corner right now, but she's there.
Okay. So here we've got Maggie, and now let's head on over back to Dina. Okay. It looks like it does retain for um at least this long. I would have to test to see if I log out, if there's some sort of time bound piece to it, or if it's just like my session here. But we'll do some testing on that. That's a great question.
Right. And yes, I agree with Heba. Kimberly's definitely winning our Q&A MVP award of the afternoon. All right. Thank you, Sarah. I think we are going to pass it along to David now to show us some OPAC and patron related things.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm excited about all the stuff in the OPAC and patrons, and to add some bad jokes today, my Callie, my cat, was just excited about the catalog. Um, so um, I helping patrons is what it's all about at the end of the day. So any enhancements and fixes we can do for those aspects of Koha, are really great. So the first bug um, that I want to talk about is 27123, and this is adding messages to batch patron modifications. So um, usually you'd have to go into a patron's account and click that add message. Now with batch patrons modifications, you can do that to multiple patrons at the same time and give them a message. Um, Next is bug 14670. This is relating to the OPAC, and that is adding the cite option to the detail page in OPAC. And I used to be an academic librarian, so anything that helps create some citations and stuff gets me excited. So I love that we're improving that functionality here in Koha. Next, we have 2677. This gives the user the option to display their patron card barcode from the OPAC. So this is really great if they've got their account pulled up on their phone and they don't have a physical card, they can still go ahead and scan that at the circulation desk or like a self checkout kiosk. So just again giving our patrons a little more points of access to their library account. Next, we have bug 33462, and this is force password change for new patrons entered by staff. I do want to add that a lot of these updates are also covered in Monday Minutes, so if you would like some video content covering these, those are available as well. Next, we have bug 36454, which provides indication if a patron is expired or restricted on the patron search autocomplete. So as you're typing in a patron, you'll be able to, it'll now indicate that, which is pretty cool. Next is 36453. And this looks at the system preference block expired patrons OPAC actions. I know that's a mouthful there. Um, and this would allow block expired patron OPAC actions. Should allow multiple actions options there. And then we have bug 34325. And what this does is when you're creating a manual invoice for a patron, it renames barcode to item barcode for clarity. I know I've worked with a lot of partner libraries that they might be adding a manual charge for not an item, and they're like, what do I put for barcode? And I say, oh, you can leave that blank. And they're like, are you sure? So I love this fix that says item barcode to clarify that that's if you're putting in a charge for an item.
I've gotten so many questions when we've been doing training on, is the patron barcode? Is it the item barcode? What barcode are we talking about? So I love just anywhere we can be super clear and make it easier for our staff to understand what Koha is asking for. Is clarity is kind.
Yeah.
Renee
And with
Brown
clar and
say.
with clarity, of course, as librarians, you help your patrons, and as Bywater, we help you help your patrons. So we love that clarity.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so it seems like we've answered quite a few questions. I think we are all caught up in the chat. If anybody else has anything they'd like to add or ask, we are here. Great. So Sarah did a little more testing. So for the override at checkout for circ rule, Sarah, thank you for unmuting.
Sure. Sure. So if I as the staff member log out and then log back in and go to check out to that same patron, I will have that box that I need to check again in order for that override. Um, Similarly, if one staff member has checked the box in order to override to that patron, but another staff member tries to check out to them. As long as they're logged in under different accounts, the second staff member will have to check that box. It's really just for that staff member who checked the box, as long as they are logged in that session. Once they log out, or if it's another staff member, they'll have to recheck the box.
I'm not laughing at you, Sarah. Thank you for doing the
Oh
testing.
no, I saw him.
Now log back in. I'm going to read the question aloud and then you'll see why I have the smirk on my face. So Raina is asking about for the cite feature in the OPAC, some of our library staff were noticing that there were issues with citation accuracy for certain formats or lack of italices in citations produced. Has anyone else noticed issues? And I'm smirking because Heba, as the former ex-English teacher, says all generated citations should be double checked and not just used as is, which, yes, Heba. But also, has anyone else encountered issues? I see Esther unmuted
Yes.
herself.
Yes, I did notice that one of the citations was definitely not correct. And one thing that you can do is if you are familiar with how a citation should be formed and it appears incorrect, is to submit a bug to the community so we can make sure that that generated citation is better. So I probably will be filing one on the Chicago citation because I did notice that it was wrong. But yes, as Heba said, always double check.
It's always fun to see what some of us did in our prior lives before becoming librarians or before becoming biwatarians. I can never say that word right, so you know. All right, and Rania says yes. Thank you, yes, and I agree about checking your citations before just taking something that's auto-generated and plopping it in your research paper.
Good
Okay,
advice in general, too.
correct, yes. Any other questions or comments, things that you're excited about in this release, things that your staff have noticed that they're excited about? All right, well, not hearing any more comments. We will post the recording of this if you joined us late or you had to hop off. We will provide the recording for this webinar on our Upgrades Hub. If you have any other questions, please do submit a ticket. If it specifically relates to the upgrade, it's super helpful for our support team if you note 2411 upgrade in your ticket subject so we know kind of where to direct things. But as always, thank you for your time. Good to see you out in the internet world, if not in person. And we will see you again soon when we get ready for 2505 this fall. Take care, everybody.